going to work. It's probably my personal opinion, given what we've seen over the past couple of months, that Michael Beale and Sunderland probably aren't a match made in heaven. I'm bringing this video to you after Sunderland have lost 2-1 to Birmingham City at St Andrews. Tony Mowbray's Birmingham City, that comes after a loss against Huddersfield Town as well. With all due respect to those two teams in the bottom half of the table, you would expect Sunderland to be winning those games. There's a couple of talking points which have dominated the agenda after the loss to Birmingham City. The Trey Hume handshake snub by Michael Beale has really caught the attention of Sunderland fans. It was spreading like wildfire on social media. He explained it after the game. He apologised. He went on his Instagram story. He then spoke to local media, did Michael Beale, and said that it was a genuine mistake and that he didn't see Trey Hume from the camera angle that we all saw on social media during the game. I don't understand how he didn't see Trey Hume, but maybe he didn't, and that's absolutely fair enough. And he's explained that one. He's apologised to the player, so hopefully that's a situation that's resolved. But it's really not helped his case. Again, I talk a lot in these videos about the court of public opinion, and that's something that's really not helped his case. And to be honest, it just seems like everything that has happened at this football club during Michael Beale's tenure, not a lot of it has gone right for him. I don't know whether it's bad luck or what. Some of it's been out of his control, some of it hasn't been out of his control. But let's just break down Michael Beale's tenure as Sunderland head coach. So his first game was Coventry City at the Stadium of Light, 23rd of December. Sunderland lost that game 3-0. They then went to Hull City on Boxing Day at the KCOM Stadium. They won 1-0. I thought Hull probably deserved to edge that game, to be honest. I thought Sunderland won that game with a piece of Jack Clark magic. Rotherham United away from home, 1-1. Really poor performance. Jack Clark once again bailing Sunderland out of it. Things then improved. We beat Preston at the Stadium of Light 2-0. Decent performance. I thought Preston offered very little in the way of resistance, and Ryan Lowe's side were on a terrible run of form coming into that game. The Sunderland Newcastle game in the FA Cup third round, they lost that 3-0. Probably always expected to lose against a Premier League side heavily. However, I didn't feel like Sunderland offered much in the way of resistance. There wasn't a tactical plan. They didn't set up to frustrate Newcastle, and I think Sunderland fans were generally very disappointed with how Sunderland set up that game. 2-1 loss to Ipswich Town away from home. Ipswich Town coming into that game were in poor form. They're a very good side, challenging for promotion. Really frustrating to lose that one on the night. Really frustrating, actually. Then there was the Sunderland Hull game at the Stadium of Light, 19th of January. Now, this is where a lot of the serious trouble started for Michael Beale, because there was, pretty serious anti-Michael Beale chants against Hull City for that game. Sunderland lost that game 1-0. And Michael Beale's sort of popularity really hit a nosedive there, and there was the Beale out campaign and whatnot, and he was polling quite badly. Sunderland then won the next game 3-1 against Stoke City. Now, this is the start of the sort of mini revival in terms of Michael Beale's Sunderland career. They won 3-1 against Stoke City. Again, a team whose form were really bad at the time, bottom half of the table, but a good win nonetheless. So you have to give them that one. 1-1 against Middlesbrough. I thought Sunderland were shocking for the second half, large parts of the second half in that game. Middlesbrough maybes deserved to win without creating too many chances. Obviously, there was the Abdullah Bar miss. So let's say that 1-1 was a fair result and a good result. Sunderland then beat Plymouth Argyle at the Stadium of Light 3-1, having been pretty poor in the first half. Then there's the Huddersfield loss, and then there's the loss to Birmingham, both away from home, both two teams pretty far down the championship table. Now, if Sunderland want to get promoted, if they want to get into the playoffs, then they have to win these games. There's no doubt about it. And I think what's really concerning for people covering the club, for people watching, is that Sunderland's consistency over 90 minutes just isn't there. They can blow hot, they can blow cold. Now, you do sort of expect that with a young squad. I think the average age of Sunderland's squad at the moment is 22, 23. So I do sympathise with Beale in a sense, is that there's not a lot of experienced players there. And my worry is that we're going to look back at some of these players that we've got, like Dan Neil, Anthony Patterson, Jack Clark, Pierre Ekwah, Jobe Bellingham, Trey Hume, last season we had Amad Diallo, Ross Stewart. You could throw in Danny Bart, Alex Pritchard, and we're all going to be scratching our head going, how didn't Sunderland get promoted to the Premier League with some of the players they've had through the doors? I think there's a real chance that we could squander a really good group and a really good opportunity because we've just twisted the dials a little bit too far towards youth and inexperience. I think it's great that Sunderland promote through the academy. I think it's great that we sign young players. I think it's great that those young players can develop and then be sold for a profit, which keeps the club healthy. That's fine, but there needs to be reinvestment. There does need to be experience at the club. And what is the aim here? The aim cannot be just to buy players, develop them and sell them on. That is fine in itself, but what is the aim? Is the aim just to make money, or is the aim to progress Sunderland as a football club and get them to the Premier League? Because if that's the aim, then fair enough. But I think a lot of Sunderland fans are struggling to see that at the moment. And Sunderland have definitely regressed under Michael Beale. There's no doubt in that. The data bears that out. The XG for is worse. The XG against is worse. Now, that's not to say everything was, sunshine and rainbows under the previous head coach, Tony Mowbray, because it wasn't. There was a serious dip in Sunderland's form before Tony Mowbray was sacked as well. So I do think we need to look at the overarching sort of structure at the football club, the way things have gone. The past two windows, they haven't really set the world alight, although I do think there's some talent that will come good eventually. But we needed some experience, and we just haven't come. It just hasn't come. Players like Gooch, Bath, Pritchard leave, and I think you need those types of players to drag you through games sometimes. On-field sort of decisions and on-field coaching from those experienced players that can get you through games. I feel like that's why Sunderland are so inconsistent. So you do have to look. You have to look at Sunderland as a whole, the football club from the top. The strategy and the finances are set by Kira Louis-Dreyfus. Christian Speakman is hampered in what he can do with the finances at play and the strategy at the club. And Speakman and Michael Beale is in turn hindered by what Speakman provides in the January transfer window. So I think we do have to look at everything. Responsibility is collective. That's not to get Michael Beale off the hook. For me, I just don't see how he gets through this sticky period with Sunderland fans. There's been lots of drama during his tenure already, and I just don't see where Sunderland go from this. I hope I'm not being a bedwetter in that sense. And I think what's a real shame as well is this is all contributing towards a sort of a climate and an atmosphere of toxicity on social media and stuff. And yes, Jobe Bellingham, he had a nightmare in that Birmingham game. He shouldn't have did what he did. It was unfortunate. But I've heard people come out and tweet that saying that he was greedy and selfish and that he's playing for the name on the back of his shirt, that he doesn't care about Sunderland and that all he cared about was scoring against Birmingham City, his former club. Yes, he probably did want to score against Birmingham City, his former club. Absolutely. It would be rubbish that if he didn't want to score against Birmingham City. It would be rubbish if he wasn't motivated against his former club. But for me, to hang a young player out to dry like that, I don't think that's what Sunderland fans should be about. I think we should be supportive. Yes, he's made a mistake, but he's 18 years old. He's played a great deal of football this season. He's contributed really, really well for us. Does he need a break? Yes. I think, does he care about playing for Sunderland? Yes, absolutely. Just take a look at when Sunderland score goals and when he scores goals, he's buzzing. I think he's a real long-term asset for Sunderland, and I don't think he's somebody that we should be thrown under the bus. Footballers make mistakes, the human, especially young footballers. I've seen a lot of criticism of Anthony Patterson as well. Threads on social media detailing every little mistake he's made in recent games. And yes, he has made some mistakes. And yes, he's not perfect as a goalkeeper. But what are we doing here? Is the aim to sort of build these young players up and support them, and or is it to drag them down? And there's elements of Anthony Patterson's game that he needs to improve on, that's for sure, but he's actually a really good goalkeeper. So maybe we should have a thread of all of the good things he's done for Sunderland over the past sort of 2 years. I think he's one of the real success stories. And yes, it's frustrating that Sunderland are losing games and that individual mistakes are creeping in. And yes, responsibility is collective, and we need to, and Sunderland players have to bear responsibility for that as well, and responsibility for performances. But I think some of the criticism I've seen of individual players has been harsh. I do understand that, you have to criticise the group collectively, absolutely. But yeah, I'm struggling with Sunderland at the moment. I'm not sure where Michael Beale goes from here. It's a big game against Swansea City at the Stadium of Light this Saturday. With then Norwich away, then you're looking at sort of Leicester in March at home, Southampton away. These are big, big games in the tenure of Michael Beale. And I really do hope that this season isn't going to just sort of peter out and slide away, because the atmosphere at the club around the moment doesn't feel great. And I think even if Michael Beale wins the next two, and I've said this before, the minute he sort of hits a sticky patch, I think the same issues are gonna start to come up. And I'll leave you with this question: where would Sunderland be this season without Jack Clarke? Where would Michael Beale be in his Sunderland career without Jack Clarke? What do you make of Sunderland's situation at the moment? What do you make of Michael Beale? Do you want him in? Do you want him out? Let me know what you're thinking in the comments section. Apologies for not doing a regular video over the past couple of weeks. Been very, very busy, but hopefully going to be bringing you a few more. Thanks for watching. Please hit the subscribe button. We're nearly at 1,000. Thank you to all Sunderland fans for tuning in, and cheers.